What's up, guys? It's Josh, and welcome back to KeepItTechie, where we're all about diving into Linux and helping folks like you break into the tech field. And today, I want to tackle something super cool and useful, and that's installing and configuring Redis on Ubuntu server. Now, Redis is that sleek, in-memory data structure store that's going to speed up your apps like nobody's business. And before we get into it, I wanted to let you know I've got a GitHub repository called Ubuntu Server Arsenal with a bunch of installation scripts, including one for Redis, to make the install a whole lot easier. So grab yourself some coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So first off, let's talk about why you might want to use Redis in the first place. Now, Redis is like a Swiss Army knife of databases. It's versatile, super fast, and can handle a bunch of different data types like strings, hashes, lists, sets, and even more. And you can use it for caching, which speeds up your application by storing data in memory. And it's also great for real-time analytics, session management, pub/sub messaging, you name it. So whether you're running a small blog or a big enterprise app, Redis has got something for you. Trust me, once you start using it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. So let's hop over to my virtual machine so I can show you guys how to get this thing up and running. All right, so let's get our hands dirty. And right now I'm connected to my Ubuntu virtual machine running 24.04. And the first thing you need to do is update your server. And so let's run through that process right fast. All we have to do is type sudo apt updates. And we shouldn't need any updates on this system. I recently did it a day or so ago when I was testing out some software. And yeah, we don't need any updates, so we're good to go. Now let's go to install, and I'm gonna clear the screen, but all you have to do is type sudo apt install, and the package name is Redis. And that's one cool thing about Redis. It's in Ubuntu's repository, so you don't have to add any PPAs or make any configuration changes. So I'm gonna tab it out right fast. I'm gonna put the tag right there, but I'm gonna tab it out so you guys can see the other packages that are there. So like you can see, we got Sentinel, Redis Search, and then Redis Tools, which we're just going to install the server but just by running the Redis server package. So let's go on, press enter, and run through this install right fast. And I'll just let it go. Doesn't take too long, but I'll come back when it actually finishes. And boom, we are good. Redis has been successfully installed. That's pretty much it. That's the full process. Now, one thing you want to do is check to make sure the service is running. So we can type sudo systemctl status for Redis. And that's the actual service name, Redis. So let's press enter. They'll let you know it's running and it's enabled. So that's good to go. Sometimes some applications, they don't store the service automatically. You have to go in and store it yourself. So it's always a good thing to check and make sure the service is running. But as you can see, it's ready to accept connections. So we're good to go. Let me show you guys how to configure it a little bit, or at least where the configuration file is so you can configure your server. And I'll make some changes because I'm gonna show you guys a small little application that I built just to show you guys Redis in action, which is super cool. So let's go on and clear again. And then the configuration file is stored under etc, just like any other application. So let's type sudo, and what we want to do is make a backup of that configuration file. We're going to make some changes to it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. etc, and then Redis, it's a Redis directory, and you won't be able to see the files because they're owned by roots. I think they got it locked down on the system as far as the permissions they have set for this thing is a little bit. It doesn't allow you to tab it out or auto complete your command because the permissions are locked down a whole lot. So let's go and copy that file to that same location, and I'm gonna type redis.conf, and that's our backup file, and we're good to go. Now let's go down and configure it right fast. We have a backup so we can roll back in case we make a mistake or we mess something up in the configuration file. And just so you guys know, Redis does support like a configuration file that says local on the end of it. So you could type redis.local and that would have worked too. I'm just doing it this way. That's just the way I want to do it. But let's go back in here, back this off, and then we can go back here and put our text editor. So whatever text editor you want to use, Vim, Vi, use Super Vi, guys, you can use that. But let's go down and press enter. And this is that configuration file for Redis. It's super simple. It has a whole bunch of documentation in here as far as what to change and what effects will happen if you make certain changes in here. So you want to read through this, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you understand exactly what you're doing. I'm gonna show you two parts and I'm gonna make some changes just so I can get my application to work. But here is the network settings. And under here, there is something that's already uncommented out. This is basically to lock down the Redis server. If you read here, it says if the computer running Redis is directly exposed to the internet, binding to all interfaces is dangerous and will expose the instance to everyone on the internet. So just a quick warning, I wanted to read a little bit of it. Just make sure you understand what you're doing when you open this thing up. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just go down up in here and comment this out because I don't want to use it that way. I'm gonna use it this way. I'm gonna type bind because I want people on the local network to connect to it because this is obviously a virtual machine. I can't just type localhost, being that I'm connected via SSH. I'm on my main system. And so in order to connect to the Redis server, which is in a virtual machine, I have to open up ports and also allow Redis to receive connections from IP addresses on the local network. So we're just going to put 0.0.0.0, and that's pretty much all you got to do. And then you can also specify like certain IP addresses. Let's say you only wanted to listen for specific IP addresses. So let's say you have your application server and then you got your Redis server and you want it to listen to that server or whatever server, a database server, whatever, and you want them to talk back and forth. You can specify a specific IP address that it'll listen on for a connection. So just breaking that out for you so you guys can understand. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put bind in there, but this is the default. It's basically locks it down. And then also the second part that I wanted to show you guys is down up in here under this protection mode. I'm gonna go down and change that to no, but it says by default, protected mode is enabled. It's gonna mess up my little app that I'm trying to show you guys a little bit later on. So I'm gonna just turn it off. I don't run into any issues with it, and I can't show you guys the little application, the little Python application I'm gonna write for you guys. But it says you should disable it only if you are sure you want clients from other hosts to connect to Redis, even if no authentication is configured. So that's what we're gonna do, but they do have some options in here. They automatically put it in that protection mode right out the box, so you can change that to yes, however you want to. You can also change it to local. This is the default port for it, just so you guys know, 6379. And then let's see, TCP backlog 511, the timeout, you could change that up. I just want to show you guys a few things. When here, TCP keep alive 300, and then just some more TLS SSL settings that you can go in here and configure. So that's all I wanted to show you guys. Let me go down and close it right fast. I'm gonna save those changes that we made. And since we made some changes to the configuration file, we have to reboot the server. So we can type sudo systemctl and then restart our Redis service. And that'll accept, or that'll pull in our new configuration changes that we made on the server. Now, one other thing I want to do is just modify our firewall just to verify that it'll work for the little application demonstration I'll show you guys in a second. So let's type sudo ufw and then allow, let's go open SSH, that way I can stay connected to it. Boom. And then let's open up, what was that, 6379 is the Redis port. Let's go and press enter there. And then my little application will use 5000, so we'll open that up as well. Let's go down and enable our firewall. So sudo ufw enable, and that'll start blocking connections for us. I already opened up open SSH. You want to make sure you do that. If you SSH into the server, you want to make sure you open up open SSH ports. Otherwise, you're going to lose connection to your server, and we don't want that. So let's type sudo status. Let's check out the status right fast. We'll see all those ports open, and then we're good to go. Let me go down and create our little application. And also, one other thing I wanted to tell you guys, if you want to skip those steps, or at least installing the base of Redis, then make sure you check out that GitHub repository I was talking about. It's called Ubuntu Server Arsenals. I have the link down in the description of the video, so you guys can check it out. I got a couple scripts there that will handle the base install of a couple different applications, including Redis. So all you gotta do is clone that repository, and then you can run those scripts, easy peasy, you're done. Now let's imagine you're building a web application that needs to keep track of user sessions. Instead of storing session data in a database like MySQL that's slow, we can use Redis to store it in memory for super fast access. And so I developed a quick Python script that uses Flash as well as Redis to demonstrate this. So first thing we need to do is install our Python virtual environment application. So let's type install, and you're gonna need this whenever you're developing some type of Python application or anything. You wanna use virtual environments, that way you can keep the things self-contained. You can install specific libraries that you only wanna use for that application right within that virtual environment. That's why it's good to always do that. So sudo apt install Python 3, and then I think it's tech virtual environment, I believe. Yeah, press enter. Yes, we want to install that. And I automatically knew Ubuntu didn't have a virtual environment installed. I wish they would include that. They include Python with the base, but they don't include the virtual environments for whatever reason. But let's go down and create our virtual environment. And all you have to do is type Python 3m and then venv. And then whatever we want to name it, I'm gonna just name it Red Environment. So that's what I'm gonna name it. And if you guys want to copy this, I'll probably drop it on the GitHub, you know, this little Python script. But you gotta follow exactly what I did in order to get it to work properly. But let's activate our environment. So all you gotta do is type source. And then what happens is when you create that virtual environment, within your home directory or wherever you are located at the moment, it'll create a virtual environment for you in that location. So let me show you guys that. So that red env is right there. And then under that directory, you want to look for bin, and then there's an activate. And this will activate your environment. And you can tell you're within the activated environment by that red or whatever you named it ahead of your username and hostname. Now let's go down and add our libraries. And like I tell you, we have to add Flask and Redis library. So that way our Python script will work. So let's type Flask and then Redis, press enter. That'll install those libraries. And then I'll show you guys how to make sure it is done. If you look down here at the bottom, it'll just tell you successfully installed, and then the packages. So we got Flask and we got Redis right there. And then of course, a bunch of dependencies for each one of those packages. Now let me generate a secret key for our application. And you guys probably know about this if you've worked with Flash applications. You have to create a secret key that you put into your application file. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, but I'll just create a quick script. I already know how to do it because I've done it so much in the past. So let's just type key.py. That's fine. That'll work. And then what is it? Import OS. And then you want to print. And I always do this, guys, so just don't mind. I always put it together before I even start typing. So let's use random and control X, Y to save that. And then all we have to do is run that script. So we can type Python, and then let's generate us a key right fast. All we have to do is copy this and put this into our app. And I'll show you guys my app in a second. I'm gonna create a text file, but I have to put this in a specific location within our app. And I'll show you guys that right now, actually. So I put my key in the right location. All you have to do is copy it one time. You get to go. You can save it somewhere, store it somewhere if you want to, depending on if it's gonna be a production application or just something you're playing around with. You can always generate another key. I was just generating it just to really generate it and show you guys how to actually use it. But let's go down and type nano, and then what we're gonna do is create our app. So I'm gonna just name it app.py, which is simple and easy to use just for a demonstration. And then let's go down and copy in our script or our Python right fast, and I'll show you guys, walk you guys through it. And it's going to import Flash as a session, then Redis, import Redis, and then we're basically creating an app. This is our key I was telling you guys about, the app key. So I just put something in there, and that's just mainly for like encryption and stuff like that. I already know what my IP address is, so you need to change your host IP address. And the whole point of this is not to show you how to build something like this. You should already know how to build it. I'm just trying to show you guys how to set up an environment and use it. So port, specify your port, and then your application. And basically what this is gonna do is gonna track anytime someone hits the page, and it's gonna count. And it's all based on the session by a visitor. And this is also just to open it up so I can connect to it. I don't wanna run into issues. Let's go down and save this right fast and control X. Now let me show you guys how to run an application right fast. And all you have to do is type Python and then press enter. That'll run it. It'll be running on these IP addresses, breaks it all out for you. So that's really where we need to go right there. So 192.168.119, port 1000. I know that'll get us there for sure. So let me switch back over to my browser and open up another tab, and let's type in that IP address. So 192.168.10.119, and then port 5000. Boom. And as you can see, it says, hello, you have visited this page one time. So we refresh it, you'll see it keep counting. So refresh. And then also, let me switch back over to the logs so you guys can see what it's actually doing. Boom, you'll see that it's doing that. And I'm gonna refresh again here on the site so you guys can see it in the background as well. I just wanted to show you guys something, at least getting it Redis work using some form of an application. I know this kind of doesn't highlight the speed or the caching and all that stuff, but at least it gives you an example of how to use Redis And that's a wrap, guys. You just learned how to install and configure Redis on a Ubuntu server, and even got a taste of how to use it in a real world scenario. Now remember, if you want to skip the manual steps, go down and check out my GitHub repo Ubuntu server arsenal for a handy Redis installation script. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the KeepItTechie channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of my future content. Also, drop a comment down below if you have any questions or if there's something specific you would like to see in the future. Make sure you guys keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep it techie. Whenever I talk to people, whenever I mentor people dealing with, getting into tech, you got to figure out what you like or what you're interested in. Because yeah, a lot of people get into the, tech field because you can make a good amount of money. The money is the motivator. But you also, in my opinion, in order for you to be happy, you got to like what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so, like for me, a lot of times it doesn't feel like work, bro. Most times it really doesn't feel like work. Yeah, I'm doing something fun. I'm doing something I love to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's what makes it, great for me.